Okay, we are back, and I have printed off the homework that we had in week one. And we're actually going to work through number 36 together. So with word problems in pharmacology courses and sometimes in tests, they can be a little wordy, right? So there's a lot of information that we're seeing here. And this question has multiple parts as we're going to be calculating drug doses for multiple medications, okay? So we're going to be calculating how many units of penicillin this lamb will receive. Then we're going to find out how many mLs that's going to be. And then we're going to find out how many mLs per day, okay? Then we're going to go on and do the same thing for gentamicin and then the same thing for flunixin. So let's take a look at our question here. And if you're a visual person like me, don't be afraid to take a highlighter and make sure you're highlighting that information that you need. So even just starting here, we'll use yellow for our first question. Our first question is asking us how many international units of penicillin will this lamb receive? So let's read our question and let's see what information is important for this first question. Number 36 says, your doctor has just finished examining a lame lamb. Their examination found a very hot and painful joint that needs a round of antibiotics. The antibiotics that they decided the lamb needs are penicillin, gentamicin, and flunixin. The dose of penicillin is 40,000 international units per kilogram. So we already know that they're giving us a piece of information right there that we need. So let's go ahead and let's highlight penicillin at 40,000 international units per kilogram because that's going to be essential for us to answering A. The sentence goes on to say penicillin is 40,000 international units per kilogram, BID. So take a minute, and that's going to be important. So we need to try to remember what BID means. Going on, we see that the dose of gentamicin is 4 milligrams per kilogram, TID, and the dose of flunixin is 2 milligrams per kilogram, SID. The stock drug concentrations for penicillin is 30,000 international units per milliliter, gentamicin equals 50 milligrams per milliliter, and flunixin is 50 milligrams per milliliter. This lamb weighs 11 pounds. So that right there is also going to be super essential for us to remember because our first step is always going to be to make sure our units or the weight of our patient is going to match the units of our dosage rate, okay? So with that information that we've highlighted, we can go ahead and answer A. So let's start by setting aside our homework here. And let's start by converting this lamb's weight in pounds to kilograms. So again, you should have a cheat sheet that gives you some of your basic conversions for you to reference in need. So let's start here with 11 pounds. And we know that our dosage rate for penicillin is 40,000 international units per kilogram. So we need to make sure that this 11 pounds is converted to kilograms. So we can set it up like a fraction or in our equation there. We know that we want to get rid of pounds, so we're going to put it on the bottom. And our goal unit is kilograms, so we're going to put it on the top. So kilograms is the larger unit in this instance. So for every 1 kilogram, we're going to have 2.2 pounds. Our pounds will go ahead and cancel out, and then we will just simply multiply straight across. You will not very often see people put anything under this initial unit because the 1 is kind of always assumed to be there, even if it's not visually there. If you just want to go ahead and put it there so you're not confused, that is absolutely fine. So multiplying straight across, that's going to give us 11 divided by 2.2, and that's going to equal our weight in kilograms. I like to set it up like this just so that I know that our kilograms is the only thing left over and that once I do this math, we are going to have our weight in kilograms. Okay, so let's see here. I'll give you guys a moment. Let's pull out our calculators and let's go ahead and get this math working here. So 11 divided by 2.2. is going to be 5. So this lamb weighs 5 kilograms, okay? So we can go ahead and even take our highlighter that we have sitting on the side, and we're going to highlight that because that is important information, okay? So now that we have our units matching, we can come back to our question here. How many international units of penicillin will this lamb receive? So again, we're going to be using this information right here now that our pounds are now kilograms. So coming back over here, we are going to take our 5 kilograms because that is our starting unit. We're going to set up our equation. What we want to get rid of is going to be on the bottom. Our goal, which in this instance is units, is going to be on the top. So literally, we just have to come back to our already highlighted information and then plug everything into its respective spots. So per our question, for every 1 kilogram, this lamb is going to receive 40,000 international units. I apologize, they kind of ran together a little bit there. So again, the one underneath the 5 kilograms is assumed. We're going to multiply straight across. Our kilograms will cancel out. So 5 kilograms multiplied by 40,000 international units is going to equal 200,000 international units. Okay? So that is the answer. Excuse me, sorry about that. That is going to be the answer to A. So the answer to A is going to be 200,000 international units. Awesome. So we've done an excellent job so far. Let's go to part B. How many mLs of penicillin will the lamb receive per dose? Again, let's break out our handy dandy highlighter here and let's look at our question and see what we can find. So as we read back through, we see all of our dosage rates here in this section, and we go on to see down here that they give us the stock drug concentrations below. So the stock drug concentration for penicillin is 300,000 international units per milliliter. Awesome. So that is all the information we need since we already have calculated the dose in milligrams. So now we just have to calculate the dose in mLs using the stock concentration of penicillin. So coming back over to our paper and zooming out just a little bit. Hopefully that's not making anyone motion sick. Let's go ahead and let's set up our problem. Okay. So we have our previous answer here, 200,000 international units. And we can go ahead and set up our equation how we would like, which again, this is the way that I like and this is the way that I recommend. It's a little bit easier to make sure you don't lose any of your units. So what we want to get rid of is always going to go on the bottom. And then our goal unit, which in this instance is milliliters, is going to go on the top. So per our question, for every 1 milliliter, there are going to be 300,000 international units. So again, the one underneath is assumed. We're going to multiply straight across. Our units will cancel out, giving us 200,000 divided by 300,000. And that's going to be our dose in milliliters. So again, giving you just a moment to get your calculator out and putting that in. What is 200,000 divided by 300,000? Your answer should be 0.666666666 and then a couple more sixes and then ending in 7. So this is one instance where I personally would feel comfortable with those repeating sixes going on and rounding that up to 0.67 milliliters. Okay, so 0.67 milliliters is the quantity of penicillin this animal will receive per dose. So the answer to B would be 0.67 milliliters. And make sure that we're including our units in our answer. Just that way we are sure and we're confident in the information we're providing, even on a quiz or in a medical record, because without a unit, that could be 0.67 anything, 0.67 tablets, 0.67 cows. Without those units, our information is incomplete, okay? So let's go on and see what C is asking us. So C is going to be asking us, how many milliliters of penicillin will the lamb receive per day? Okay? So we've already calculated how many milliliters per dose. We now need to calculate how many per day. So let's go back up and let's read in our question here. So when we highlighted our dose of penicillin, right beside of it, it says BID. So that is an abbreviation that we need to be aware of. This abbreviation means that penicillin is going to be given twice a day or every 12 hours. So knowing that this animal is going to get this dose of penicillin twice a day, all we have to do is come back down here to this question and see what it's asking. How many milliliters of penicillin will the lamb receive per day? We simply take the answer for B and then multiply it by 2 to give us the answer to C. So here for C, whoops, we're a little zoomed in there so you could see the question. So for C, you're going to take our previous answer over here, this 0.67 mLs, and you're going to simply just multiply it by 2 to give us our answer, okay? So again, taking out your calculator, 0.67, multiply that by 2, and that should give you 1.34 mLs per day. So that is the answer to C. Sorry, I already forgot what I had said out loud. So in this instance, if you were to just put 1.34 mLs, that would be correct. And again, we just want to try to be super specific. So again, by adding that per day, we are ensuring that our information is as accurate as possible. Okay? So we've worked through the first one together. Take a little bit of time and then come back, and then we will work through the others as well. So going on and looking at the next portion of the question, we're going to get a different color highlighter. Again, just because we're visual people and we don't want to get things confused. The next part of the question is asking us, how many milligrams of gentamicin will this lamb receive? So going back up to our question, we need to find the information that tells us about gentamicin. So we know that right here, after our penicillin, that the dose of gentamicin is 4 milligrams per kilogram TID. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that because that is important information for us. Going on down, we see that they go ahead and give us the drug concentration of gentamicin, which is 50 milligrams per milliliter. And we've already done the weight to kilograms in a previous part of the question, so we don't have to worry about doing that again. So with that information in tow, let's go ahead and let's start working on D. As I get my pen situated here. So here for D. So how many milligrams of gentamicin? We're just going to come up here. Again, our 5 kilograms, we've already calculated that. That is going to be our starting unit. We're going to set up our equation, what we want to get rid of on the bottom, what we want on the top. And then looking at our question, we see that for every 1 kilogram, this animal is going to get 4 milligrams of gentamicin. So we're going to multiply straight across. Our kilograms are going to cancel out. So 5 times 4 is going to be 20 milligrams of gentamicin. Okay? 20 milligrams of gentamicin. So there's their answer to D. Pretty easy. E goes on to ask us, just like B did, how many milliliters of gentamicin will the lamb receive per dose? So again, we're going to do this the same way that we did B. And we are going to take our dose in milligrams, which we have here. So 20 milligrams. We're going to set up our equation, what we want to get rid of on the bottom, what we want to get to on the top. And then looking at our information provided, the concentration of gentamicin is 40 milligrams per 1 ml. So we're just going to put that information in here. So our units will cancel out, like units that is, and then we're just going to set that up by multiplying straight across. So 20 divided by 50 is going to be equal to our dose in milliliters. So take out your calculator, do a little bit of math. If you can do that mentally, that's awesome. So this lamb is going to receive 0.4 mLs per dose. Okay, 0.4 mLs per dose. We're going to come back and we're going to write that here. And again, the per dose thing, it's just kind of redundant, but again, we want to be as specific as possible in these answers. So if someone else was to actually come take a chart or grab our chart to take care of this same animal, they're going to know exactly what we're talking about, and there is no room for confusion. Okay? Our next question is asking us how many milliliters of gentamicin will the lamb receive per day. Coming back over here, we see that when we highlighted our dosage rate, TID is at the end. So TID is going to be 3 times a day. Okay, 3 times a day. So taking the information that we already calculated here, 0.4 mLs per dose, and we're simply, for F, going to multiply 0.4 mLs multiplied by 3 doses per day is going to give us 1.2 mLs per day. Okay, so the answer to F is 1.2 mLs per day. G, H, and I are going to be calculated the exact same way. So take a minute here, pause the video if you need to, and go ahead and practice G, H, and I. And you may need to go back to look at the information in the question to perform those. So again, pause the video and come back when you're done. Awesome. So back with our question here. We're going to take, again, another highlighter because we are visual people. And we're going to find our dose for flunixin, which is here. 2 milligrams per kilogram SID, SID being once a day. And then the concentration of flunixin is 50 milligrams per milliliter right there. So with that information in tow, let's go ahead and let's calculate the milligrams per dose, the mLs per dose, and then the mLs per day, which is G, H, and I. So again, we've already calculated our weight because we are professionals. So bringing that down here, 5 kilograms, we're going to multiply and set up our equation, what we want to get rid of on the bottom, what we want on the top. So for this medication, for every 1 kilogram, there are 2 milligrams of medication. Excuse me as I try to write milligrams again. Multiply straight across. Our kilograms are going to cancel out, giving us 10 milligrams per dose for this animal. And then for H, we're going to calculate how many mLs per dose. So taking this information here, 10 milligrams per dose, we're going to multiply and set up our equation. Our mg per mil is given to us in the question here, which is 50 mg per mil. So for every 1 ml, there are 50 milligrams. Milligrams would cancel out as we multiply straight across, giving us 10 divided by 50. And that's going to equal our quantity in mLs, meaning that this animal is going to get 0.2 mLs of flunixin. And then finally finish in I. Again, looking at our dosage rate, it says that flunixin is a once-a-day treatment. So the answer for I, how many mLs of flunixin will the lamb receive per day, will be the same as the lamb received per dose. So the answer here to H is 0.2 mLs, and then the answer to I is also 0.2 mLs. And then again, the milligrams that we already calculated right here is going to be 10 milligrams per dose. And again, if we want to be super specific, we can put per dose there. And then add per day here. Okay. So there is just a very basic drug calculation for a lamb using a couple different medications. So a little bit of practice there. If you guys have any further questions about kind of the basic drug calculation, just feel free to reach out. We can go over those one-on-one, but we will start another video here just a second about how to do these next questions or these solution/dilution problems.